for um, this time for this summer, and we are very happy to have you here. On behalf of the um, English department and the organizing committee, we welcome you to this week where we know we're going to have we're going to share, learn, and at the same time virtually join, get together, um, and with the purpose, because we want to improve, we want to become better professionals, and we want to provide a quality of education to our students. So I want to welcome you all and thank you for joining today. And I would like to give the opportunity to Professor Marisol Ortega on behalf of the organizing committee. She has some welcome words.
Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Olmedo Garcia, Dean of the College of Humanities, to the authorities of the English Department, Professor Gloria De Ho, Principal of the English Department, and Professor Adrian Jimenez, Head of the English School, Professor Florencio Diaz, Director of the Extension and Continuing Education Coordination, and Mrs. Adikel Santi Mateo, Administrative Coordinator of the Extension and Continuing Education Coordination. And to our lecture speakers for today, Professor Corina Rodriguez and Beatriz Tinoco. Greetings to all of you and to all of our participants. And I want to give a special thanks to our organizing committee, because without them, this would not be possible. Well, welcome to this seminar, digging into blended English teaching with Google Classroom. I hope we learn more than before. I mean, we are adding to our knowledge. As I have used a Chinese proverb that says, learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. So what we learned from the last seminar is following us, and what we are going to learn in this one will continue with us. Okay. We are going to start in a few minutes, but before we start, we would like to express our gratitude to our Lord with a few words of prayer. And for this, we call Pastor Mauricio Brown to guide us into this section. Pastor Brown.
Good morning to everyone. May God bless you richly. Let's have a word of prayer. Oh, Father God, at this point, we come before you, giving you thanks for this morning. We thank thee, Lord, for this opportunity that is being given, Father, that a prayer be lifted up in your name. Almighty God, we pray at this point that all those who are taking part in this seminary, that they can be edified, they can get the knowledge, but above all, they can have a sensitivity, dear Father, to your word, a sensitivity to your spirit, knowing that you are the creator of all things. You are the one that sustains absolutely everything. And you're the only Lord and Savior, our Lord Jesus Christ, who came and died for us. We pray, O Lord, knowledge. We pray, O Lord, for understanding. And we pray, O Lord, for harmony in everything that is being done in this seminary. We praise and we magnify you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Mauricio. Now we go back to Professor Joel Alvarez to continue with the program.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we have some remarks from Dr. Olmedo Garcia, our dean. Welcome.
¿Me escuchan?
Sí, correcto.
Buen día a todos y a todas. Hoy casi que es una alegría para nosotros asumir la responsabilidad de seguir este proceso de formación profesional. Y aprovechamos el proyecto de educación continua y la Escuela Internacional de Verano. Para la Facultad de Humanidades, y en este caso particular, el Departamento de Inglés y la Escuela de Inglés, es una enorme satisfacción que hayamos cumplido una de las políticas que nosotros nos habíamos emprendido. Casi al final de año fuimos notificados por parte del organismo de acreditación centroamericana que habíamos obtenido los indicadores más altos en el proceso de educación de nuestro país. ¿Y por qué no obtenerlo? Si todo el año 2022 fue la batalla del proceso de reacreditación. Y eso es un desafío en el cual nosotros hemos asumido como las principales universidades del mundo de cambiar, de transformar los procesos pedagógicos innovadores e incorporar las tecnologías que nosotros nos permiten optimizar nuestras habilidades, nuestras destrezas y tener un perfil de acuerdo a las realidades que estamos viviendo en este mundo. Por eso hoy el seminario que el departamento, a través de la coordinación de educación continua del Departamento de Inglés, hoy nos ofrece un seminario que dotará a los docentes y a los profesionales del inglés en los conocimientos necesarios para reforzar su habilidad en el uso adecuado de las herramientas Google en el proceso de la enseñanza-aprendizaje del idioma inglés a través de las clases combinadas, modalidad virtual y presencial. Quiero saludar a nuestra compañera directora, la profesora Gloria Dejó, al profesor Adrián Jiménez, nuestro director, al profesor Ricardo Acosta, director del técnico de inglés, a los distintos coordinadores, pero en especial hoy a nuestros facilitadores de este proceso de educación continua, la profesora Beatriz Tinoco y la profesora Marisol Corina Rodríguez, son los facilitadores, y la profesora Marisol, la coordinadora de educación continua. El primer seminario que iniciamos en la temporada de verano es este, inglés. Y hay veces que nosotros, en esa visión de las humanidades, excluíamos a inglés porque es una lengua. Bueno, hoy día no se habla solamente de las ciencias. Se plantea que el conocimiento son los saberes. Y los saberes son interdisciplinarios, transversal. Y esos saberes crean una ecología en donde todos podemos construir ciencia y conocimiento. Hoy nos dan la oportunidad de conocer el uso de esta herramienta de Google en entornos virtuales, presenciales y semipresenciales. Miren lo que estamos discutiendo nosotros. Nosotros no estamos con un método tradicional. Estamos incorporando los procesos tecnológicos como lo plantean aquí en el perfil del seminario. Estos entornos virtuales de la web 2.0 nos permiten a nosotros no potenciar el conocimiento en sí, porque esta herramienta los que nos crean es la velocidad de transmisión del conocimiento. El conocimiento lo producimos nosotros. Es un proceso que nosotros, los docentes, los estudiantes y la comunidad educativa, construimos este proyecto. Por eso, hoy Nuestro departamento de inglés todavía tiene temores de la presencialidad. Y quiero decirle que el año 2023 lo hemos declarado que tenemos que retornar totalmente a las clases presenciales. El mejor antídoto para poder enfrentar estos virus naturales o endógenos es la vida. Y nosotros queremos producir vida. Uno de los peces más hermosos de la Patagonia, el salmón patagónico, cuando quieren producir vida, nadan río arriba y cuando terminan de llegar, la madre muere, pero produjo una nueva vida. Miren qué proceso más lindo. La especie muere, pero nace otra vida. Ese es el proceso que nosotros queremos vivir aquí en la universidad. Tenemos que desafiar. Hoy estamos a punto de vivir un holocausto nuclear. Hemos calentado mucho el planeta a través de los recursos fósiles y el uso de armamentos hipersónicos o nucleares puede ser la catástrofe jamás vista en el siglo XX. ¿O usted cree que los terremotos en Siria y en Turquía son producto de procesos naturales? No. Hay una alteración climática natural y biológica que está produciendo estos tremendos riesgos en la humanidad. Así que nosotros también, desde este seminario, además de estar viviendo y desafiando el destino de seguir formándonos, nosotros queremos decirle que ustedes seguirán en este proceso intercultural, multicultural, para entender, para comunicarnos que el idioma es un saber, es una ecología de los saberes que conjuntamente con la especie animal, la naturaleza, lo humano, podemos construir la mejor ecología para ofrecerle al mundo otra alternativa de vida. Por eso quiero agradecerle a los 110 profesores de nuestro departamento de inglés que nos sigan acompañando en este proceso. Nosotros no tenemos oportunidad de cansarnos. Sabemos que no tenemos la mejor infraestructura, pero tenemos la posible infraestructura de una comisión de infraestructura del departamento de inglés que nos ha acompañado a preparar y a organizar para que tengamos los mejores espacios posibles para iniciar nuestro proceso lectivo. Tenga la seguridad que podemos merecernos mucho más, pero este es el esfuerzo conjunto. Hoy fuimos víctimas de los recortes presupuestarios y en nuestra facultad, uno de los recortes más severos lo hemos hecho nosotros con proyectos de autogestión como lo que está llevando a cabo el Departamento de Inglés a través de su Comisión de Infraestructura. Por eso, compañeros y compañeras, este seminario que tienen ustedes la oportunidad, no hemos traído ningún especialista de Occidente ni del Norte. Son nuestras facilitadoras Corina y Beatriz Tinoco. Beatriz creo que está en el área de la evaluación, ya lo vi en un módulo que está en los recursos del Google para entender los procesos de evaluación. Felicidades a nuestros directores, a los 110 compañeros y compañeras Y sepan ustedes que en este proceso me encanta a mí que haya educación continua permanente, porque la educación es para la vida, para toda la vida y a lo largo de la vida. Gracias por darme esta mañana. Gracias para compartir con ustedes y seguimos con más esperanza para tener el mundo y la vida y la universidad que nosotros soñamos. Gracias y buen día a todos.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Dr. Olmedo. Thank you so much for these inspirational words that we really appreciate. This kind of motivating, spirit to all what we do. So now we have remarks from Professor Gloria de Bo. She is the head of the English department.
Good morning.
Buen día. Buen día.
Good. Dr. Olmedo Garcia, Dean of our college, Profesora Leidiana Hill, Assistant Dean, chairpersons of the different programs at the English department, organizing committee of this seminar, guest speakers, and dear colleagues. It is a pleasure to see virtually everyone in this seminar and how lucky we are to be here. Why? Because other people are going through difficult situations. In this case, I'm referring to people from Turkey and Syrian people. We ask you to keep them in your prayers. They need our prayers as well as our support. This 40-hour seminar, digging into blended English teaching with Google Classroom, will give us the opportunity to refresh and at the same time learn new technology in this week of learning. Of course, before Mardi Gras, before Carnavales. It is a privilege and an honor to listen to our colleagues from Universidad de Panama. They go through the same problems as we do, and I'm pretty sure they will share situations which will help us to improve our work at the university. Their experience and teaching will be well received from Profesora Tinoco, Profesora Corina. Please enjoy this week of learning, and our thanks to all the speakers for all the time devoted to this activity. Let's have a good week. God bless you, and thank you very much, and let's go to work.
Thank you, Professor Ho, for your words. We know that we are going to enjoy this week, learning a lot, sharing, and at the same time, bringing all our expertise together, because this is a learning community. But before going into the speakers, I would like you to go to the chat box and tell us, where are you now? Where in the country are you now? ¿Dónde están en el país? Go to the chat box and share with us, where are you now in Panama? Where are you? Let's see. Who wants to share? Go to the chat box and share, where are you right now? I am in, I don't know where. Let's see, let's activate the chat. Chiriquí, hey. We have people from Chiriquí. ¿Cuál es? ¿De dónde más tenemos gente? De Pueblo Nuevo. Excellent, excellent. Let's see, El Dorado, fantastic, wonderful. Arraiján, Colón. Excellent, muy bien. Who else? Do we have somebody else from Azuero, from Veraguas, Panama, Bella Vista? Fantastic, Professor Pyle. Good to see you here. Let's see, Rio Abajo. Excellent. El Dorado, Cunanega. Great, Professor Ivan. Arraiján, Chorrera. Chilibre, Chorrera. Okay. Well, we have people from all over the country here, which is great. This is one of the positive things of the pandemic, that we are connected. No matter where we are, we can't, get in touch, we can be connected, and we can share. Okay, so now we are going to start with our first speaker of the day. Today we're going to have two speakers, but I'm going to introduce the first one. And then her topic is going to be blended learning and flipped classroom. And so I'm very happy to introduce my colleague, Beatriz Tinoco. But let's learn a little bit about Beatriz Tinoco. Beatriz Tinoco, she is currently an English professor in the English department at the University of Panama. She holds a bachelor's degree in humanities with a major in English and a postgraduate degree in higher education from the University of Panama. She also earned a master's degree in teaching English as a second language from the University of Arizona. In addition, she holds a diploma in tutor training in virtual learning environments and advanced Web 2.0 technologies applied to higher education from the University of Panama. Professor Tinoco is a certified public translator. Her work experience includes teaching English at school and university level as facilitator and speaker on topics related to the teaching language and teaching at different governmental private institutions. With virtual applause, let's welcome Professor Beatriz Tinoco. This is your audience.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the authorities, to the colleagues and participants that are here today. Thank you to the organizing committee and Joel for those words. I'm very happy and glad to be here with you today. I would like to start by saying that as you, I am also a professor with experience, and more than giving you information, I would like this presentation to be an interaction in which we can exchange ideas and experiences, because maybe what I have experienced is something different to what you have experienced. So if you give me a few seconds to share screen, we will get started. Can you hear me well? And see me well?
Yes, we can.
Beautiful.
I can. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. All right, very good. So the topic for this seminar is, at least for today, digging into blended English teaching with Google Classroom. And my question is, or you might be wondering, why are we talking about this type of teaching? Are we talking about platforms if we have already heard from the dean and director and the authorities from the University of Panama that we're going back to face-to-face classes? So I thought that you might be wondering, or you might be thinking, well, the struggle is over. The pandemic that we lived in the year 2020 is over. Now we're going back. We don't have to suffer with applications. We don't have to suffer with Zoom or anything else. So why talking about this type of learning after the pandemic if we know that we're going back to face-to-face classes? And I would like to hear from you your comments. As I said, I would like this part of the seminar to be very interactive, not just me talking, because I feel isolated and lonely when that happens. So I would like to hear from you. Why do you think we're talking about this? If we know that we're going back to see our students in the classroom. The microphone is open. You can participate, please.
I am Karen Olson, and I would like to say that I think that even though we are going to go back to face-to-face classrooms with students, this is something that some years ago we talked about future, so future is now. The thing is that because pandemic, that comes ahead of time that we were expecting for. So that's the thing. If we are face-to-face with students, we are going to use also technological tools to be, not to be like a step behind, but we are going to move with technology. We are going to help students to maybe use different kind of things to learn. And we as teachers, we need this technology because that is very helpful in this, I can say no in this society, but nowadays we need this kind of learning and teaching too.
Thank you very much, Teacher Karen. Absolutely correct. Teacher Lucy is raising her hand. Lucy, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Well, I had the
Good morning.
opportunity to study when I was in my master's degree with a professor. She was, we're in class. While we were in class, we also had a platform in which we could receive material, reading material, assignments, and everything was so clear using the platform that I thought it would be wonderful if we could use platforms for students to have a good feedback from on, and also the material in very ordered way. So I would like to use that even if we go back to face-to-face classes.
Thank you very much, Teacher Lucy. Very good. Well said. Any other volunteer? All right, very good. Well, Teacher Karen and Teacher Lucy are very correct. And we have to agree on the fact that technology is here to stay. The pandemic was just a natural disaster that taught us that there are other ways in which we can enhance our classes, that we have to open our minds to new options, to new channels in order to help our students improve and be effective in the learning process. For that reason, as I said before, we have to accept technology because it happens not only in education, but also in other areas, in our daily lives, for example. When from the very moment you take your cell phone to look at to look at Instagram or WhatsApp, you are using technology. So it's just part of our communication, it's part of our lives. If you forget your cell phone, I don't know if that has happened to you, but if you have your cell phone and you forget your cell phone at home, you become an isolated person. You're not able to communicate. You don't know what's going on. Nobody can reach you. So this is also transferred to education. I have to clarify here. The role of the teacher will never be replaced. That's a fact. But while in-person teaching will remain an essential part of education, that face-to-face interaction, and that's what is going to happen for the foreseeable future, at least up to now, we need to open our minds. We need to look for other options. The idea of this speech is to give you a very brief overview of different learning models that we have out there that can actually help us reinforce our teaching, help our students improve. Just as Teacher Lucy mentioned, she felt that she will get more from a class because she had everything organized and structured on a platform besides what the teacher had to say. So the fact that we received, maybe when we were studying, master classes from our professors in a face-to-face classroom, which was effective at the time, not necessarily is effective now because our students live also with technology. It's also part of their lives. So we have to try to combine our role as teachers in the classroom with the technology that will help us improve the learning process or the teaching for our students. As I said, there is a very brief overview. If you want to make a comment, please feel free to do so. There are many models, many learning models that you have heard out there, but I'm going to emphasize on 3 learning models because sometimes these models overlap. Their concepts overlap with one another and we might get confused. So just to clarify, because they do have specific characteristics that distinguish them from one another, I'm going to talk about the hybrid learning, the flipped classroom, and the blended learning, which would be the main focus for this seminar. So my question is, have you heard about the hybrid learning? What do you know about it? Hybrid learning, what is it? Do we know? Does it sound familiar to us?
If I'm not wrong, it's something in which we combine face-to-face classes with technology, right?
You're very right, Teacher Karen. Thank you very much. It's in this type of model, you combine face-to-face classes and online activities. That's very true. And have we heard anything about the flipped classroom? Because we're going to go into detail with them in a few minutes. Flipped classroom, any characteristic that you know? Not really. What is it? Flipped. Blended learning. Does it sound familiar to you? blended learning. Oh my God, it's Monday. I can tell. Okay. Teacher Karin is very right. The hybrid learning includes the use of face-to-face classes and online activities. But we're going to see that the same happens with the flipped classroom and blended learning. So what will be the difference among these three learning models? We're going to see. And we're going to start by talking about hybrid learning. And the hybrid learning has very specific characteristics. Some of them are shared with the other type of learning models, but the hybrid learning has specific characteristic that distinguishes from the others, as I mentioned before. In the hybrid learning model, some students attend class in person. It means that the student is going to go to class and the professor is going to be in the classroom giving instruction. But also some students will join the class virtually from home. It means that while the teacher is giving instruction or is giving the class in the classroom, some students will be connected and see the professor in real time from home or any other place where they are. This was very, very common during the pandemic. I know some schools did this, especially when the students returned to schools. I don't know if you had experience with some relatives, but in my case, I had some relatives who went back to school. And because schools were afraid of the number of students in the classroom because of the COVID, they will have a limited number of students in the classroom and the others will be connected from home. So the professor will be the class with the whiteboard, everything there in the classroom, and some 5 or 6 students will be in the classroom um, taking the class, and at the same time, this professor will be connected or the teacher will be connected, and the rest of the class will be watching the teacher, asking questions, and actively participating from their houses. This is an example of hybrid learning. So it happens with students in person, face to face, and with students who are connected virtually from home. In some cases, hybrid learning includes a synchronous learning element. It means that even though the professor will give classes in the classroom, sometimes students will have to work in asynchronous activities. Okay, not necessarily in real time with the teacher, but in their own time and at their own pace. Another characteristic of hybrid education, hybrid learning or the hybrid learning model, is that educators teach remote in-person students at the same time using tools. Using tools such as what? Who can mention some examples of tools? How can you have a class, a face-to-face class, and at the same time, students be connected to see you? Who can mention some examples of tools a professor can use, an instructor can use? What comes to your mind?
Zoom.
Very good. What we're using right now, Zoom will be an example of a tool that students and professors can use to be connected. And it's an example of what's going on right now, as Joel mentioned before. It makes it possible to reach many people, even though we're not in the same place. We have people in Argentina, people in Pacora, people in Panama, people in Chiriquí, and still we can share this same very moment, even though we're in this case, we're not in a face-to-face interaction, a face-to-face class. Very good. So we have Zoom, we have Teams, and some others. Excellent. Another characteristic of the hybrid learning is that some involve receiving instruction online with occasional face-to-face interaction for exams or other assessments. What does this mean? It means that even though you're going to have face-to-face interaction and online interaction, the instructor or the professor can decide how much time is going to be that face-to-face interaction and if it's going to be very frequent or it's going to be occasionally, at least for exams or for assessment. The point here is that in the hybrid learning model, you're going to have a combination of both. Now, I have to clarify something here. This has to be intentional. What do I mean with that? If you're going to use the hybrid learning model, you need to make that decision from the very beginning of the course. It means that your syllabus should show you're planning including the face-to-face interactions and the online interaction. If, for example, and this is a question for you, if, for example, I'm having a face-to-face class in a specific course at the University of Panama, and one of the weeks an emergency comes up, so I cannot attend classes, and I say, you know what? I'm just going to send the material on, I'm going to post it on Google Classroom so you can do the assignment because I won't be able to, I'm sorry, I won't be able to attend classes. My question is, will that be an example of a hybrid learning model applied in the class or not? In that specific situation, what would you say?
Sorry, can you repeat the situation?
Of course, I'm having a face-to-face class in a specific course. Let's say grammar, just to mention something. And in week number 4, an emergency comes up and I won't be able to attend classes. So I just say, well, I'm just going to upload information so you can read it and see it because I won't be able to attend classes. Will that be an example of applying the hybrid learning model in class or not? What do you think?
I think yes, because we are not like wasting the time. Because even though you have an emergency, you are prepared for giving the students the information that they need in order to continue with the plan.
Okay, thank you for
I
your
also
comment.
think is a yes because we are using the face-to-face, the students are face-to-face, but the tool that I'm using is online. So that's why I think it would be hybrid learning.
Okay, all right. So, okay, thank you for your answers. So my next question is, what will be the difference between the hybrid learning model being applied and integrating technology to my class? Because that also happens. Some professors just integrate technology. They post a video or something like that. So what will be the difference? And I mentioned a few minutes ago. The situation was I have a face-to-face class in a specific course and something comes up in a specific week, so I post the material or I send them the material. What will be the difference then between that and integrating technology to a class? What will be
I
the
will
difference?
be present
You will be?
in the classroom
You will be
because
resting
I'm
in the,
using the technology. I am in the classroom with the student.
No, you are not. Remember, the situation is that you are not. You won't be able to attend classes. Remember, something came up, you have an emergency, and you were supposed to have a face-to-face class, but something came up and you let the students know that you won't be able to attend, so you just post a video or something.
So the question is?
Will that be learning hybrid, a hybrid learning model, or just integrating technology in a specific moment? You see? That's what I mentioned before. This type of learning has to be intended. If you happen to have a face-to-face class and something comes up during week number 5 and you feel sick, so you don't go to class and you send the material, it's an emergency, but it's not intended. Not necessarily it appears in your syllabus. And because it doesn't appear in your syllabus or you didn't have it planned, it's just an integration of technology, which is valid. It's valid. Sometimes you can just what is that? Integrating technology to your class. I'm going to use this because something came up. And that has to be very clear with this type of learning model. All these models that we're talking about have to be intended by a professor. It means that a professor has to sit at the beginning of the course and say, I am going to use the hybrid learning model. I know I need to have a combination of face-to-face, of face-to-face with online classes. So I have to decide as a professor, as an instructor, which part and what content of the course are going to be delivered in a face-to-face environment, and what content or material is going to be sent on a platform or is going to be sent online. That's the difference between this type of learning models and just integrating technology. Because if you take one day out of the blue and integrate something, you're just integrating technology, which, as I said before, it's okay. It's fine, but it's not with intention. You're just trying to supply an emergency that you have at the moment. That's why it says here, and Lucy's raising her hand. I'll give you the audience in a minute, that the professor, the instructor decide if the instruction is going to be, for example, once a week in a face-to-face environment, and then the rest is going to be in an interaction, or as I mentioned here as an characteristic, it's going to be occasional face-to-face interaction, at least for exam. Like I'm going to send all the information online, but for the exams, I want the students to be here so I can see that they are not, taking advantage or they can show what they have learned. Lucy, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, I think it leads a little bit to confusion when students expect to have the professor face to face. And then one of a sudden, for an emergency, they receive this, I don't know, they receive this kind of information that, okay, now you're gonna watch a video or do something in a platform. Because it's like a telefonito roto, like, okay, what did the professor, what does she want from me? It's very confusing. But if from the beginning you talk to the students that part of the methodology would be doing some things online, they already have like the way to reach that information.
Absolutely. You got me. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. That will be the difference. That's what I'm saying, that this type of learning models have to be applied by the instructors with an intention. Because remember that at the end, you want to learn, you want to achieve a learning objective with your students. So it has to be planned. It cannot just be something improvised. As I said before, if something happens, and the other participants mentioned, I want my students not to waste their time and get something, that's fine. You can do so. It's better than nothing. It's better than not having the class. But at the end, it's not something planned. Thank you, Lucy, for your comment. Something else that I want to say, I'm sharing with you my experience and what I have read about this, but I do not have the absolute truth about anything here. I'm a teacher as you, and I also learn every single day from my students, from my colleagues, and that makes experience. That makes my experience. Okay. Now, another characteristic of the hybrid learning model is that their online components are intended to replace a portion of face-to-face class time. Pay attention to this. Their online components are intended to replace a portion of a face-to-face class time. And this is the main characteristic that distinguishes the hybrid learning model from others. It's intended, as I mentioned before, it means that the professor needs to decide from the very beginning, he or she is elaborating the syllabus, what parts are going to be delivered in a face-to-face environment, and what parts or material or content is going to be replaced in online activities. You see? So in this type of learning model, the teacher, the instructor, does not repeat the information, but it replaces portions of that face-to-face interaction with online activities or material. And we're going to see for later on how you can do that. Okay? That's another very specific characteristic about the hybrid learning. It makes learning more accessible and also allows educators to reach remote areas. What would this mean? It makes learning more accessible, and it also allows educators to reach remote areas. What do you think this means?
Well, it means that I can have some student, for example, if I'm teaching in Panama, but I can have student from, let's say, Darien, who are taking the course, and they will have the same opportunity to take advantage of the class, even though they're in a remote area.
Beautiful answer. Well said. Thank you very much, Carmen, for your participation. Absolutely. And we're just evidence of that situation today. Teaching technology, or it will be maybe, or it was thought as maybe effective in a lab where everybody will have a computer. Maybe it would have been easier. It could be, but that doesn't stop us from learning and exchanging ideas and learning from each other that we're doing today. So with the hybrid learning model, since we're going to combine face-to-face interaction, and these are aspects that you have to take into consideration. Who are my students? Where do they come from? Because I might have students, as Carmen mentioned, Professor Carmen mentioned, that come from remote areas. But now I know I can get to them by combining, yes, sometimes face-to-face classes, but with online activities or online classes. So the student might not have to go every single week or every single day to the university, but I know that they will get the material and we can reach them. Absolutely. Thank you, Carmen. Another characteristic of the hybrid learning model is that online interaction can either be synchronous, meaning that students are interacting online in real time, as we mentioned before, and I know it happened in some schools here in Panama. The teacher will be in the classroom with a few students, the rest of the class connected from home, paying attention and getting the same information. This could be, as we mentioned before, via Zoom or any other platform used for these purposes. Or the interactions online can also be asynchronous, meaning that students interact online at different times. And this is also an advantage for students because we know that they don't learn at the same speed. They have their own pace. Some students are very visual and they can just watch a video one time and they get all the information. Some students will have to watch the video more than one time, or they will have, if they're going to read an article, for example, or a material or content that you're giving them, they might have to read it more than once to get the information, right? So these asynchronous activities will give the students the opportunity to work at different times at their own pace. Now, hybrid learning model also helps students stay connected during long absences. During long absences. What does that mean? I can have a trip. I can go to a cruise while the students are working. Is that true? Why would we talk about long absences when we talk about the hybrid learning model? What situation can you think is possible for long absences? Who can give me an example of a situation in which we can have long absences so students can stay connected? Not going on a cruise, of course, but what example, what situation can you think of? Who can give me an example? Nobody? No volunteer?
Okay. I have an example. For example,
Okay, Carmen.
at school, we had a student that he had an accident and he couldn't be able to be in the classroom. I think if we had a hybrid learning method, we could have the student, even though he was at home, he could be connected with the class, maybe for sickness, maybe for a personal situation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Carmen. You are very active in this sunny Monday morning. Thank you very much. You are very right. We can think of many situations in which there are going to be long absences, and the hybrid learning model will help our students to be connected and to get information. Something that I have always said, I won't say criticized, but said that we could do better is, for example, the students in our schools and colleges who represent the country in sport, in art, in this type of extracurricular activities. And instead of encouraging these students to do these activities because they have to do both things, attend classes, get grades, get prepared, and also do these extracurricular activities, my impression is that they, I don't want to sound harsh, but that they get punished because when they come back, they have to catch up with everything the rest of the students who were not doing anything else but going to school did during that time. So as Carmen said, these long absences, not necessarily, as she mentioned, could be sickness, but not necessarily sickness. They could be do something else, and giving them the opportunity to be connected at some point in their free time or to get the material will give them the opportunity to catch up and to continue with the classes with the rest. Thank you, Carmen. You're very right. The hybrid learning model also makes learning more accessible and also allows educators to reach remote areas, as we mentioned before, not only for the students, but also for the professor. In the case that the professor or the instructor is working from home, right, in a safe environment due to any situation at the university, they can also reach remote area with the students. The hybrid learning model also familiarizes both educators and learners with the latest communication technologies. And this is true. As I said before, technology is here to stay. You either catch up, you either learn something, or you are left behind. And I always give the recommendation. That is something that I use. I have always been open and honest about technology. I'm talking about myself, Beatriz Tinoco. I'm not really into technology. I do not consider myself a technological person. There are people who are technological. They are just so good. They understand that language. They're able to see something and get here, and they're able to find out things. And it's impressive how you see sometimes students who are really, really good at technology. That's not my case, and maybe that's not your case. So what to do if we're not in love with technology? But we know that technology is a very powerful tool that we need in order to succeed in our classes, because just having face-to-face master classes is not enough. My recommendation, and that's what I do, since there are many options out there of applications, of methodologies, of activities you can do, what I do is that, or platforms, I would choose one, two, or three and try my best to learn everything I can about those three. So instead of switching from one, one platform to another, or changing from one, app or platform, I try to choose one or three, two or three, and I learn the most I can from them. At least to be technological in those parts. You can tell now that I love PowerPoint. There are so many things out there, very beautiful, like Canvas. You have Google Share and some others, but I just love because I feel comfortable with PowerPoint. So this is the technology I'm going to use, but I want to try my best so it is very useful and effective in the classroom. Okay. So, and this also pushes us to learn more, because sometimes you also learn from your students. I don't know if it has happened to you, but during the pandemic, I learned a lot from my students. I remember we need to have a call for something, a vote, and the student was like, well, teacher, why don't we use straw poll? And I was like, what is that? And this student taught me how to do it, and now I'm learning something new. So it keeps you learning, it keeps you moving, it motivates you to go forward and to get with the latest communication technologies. As I said before, I know that Canvas is really, really trendy right now. I don't know if there's anything else. That's as far as I know. Canvas is one of the trendiest apps at this moment. I don't know if you know any other. Please share if you do. But it also helps us not only as educators, but also the students who have not had the experience with maybe specific type of technologies. They will learn with the course. Give me a second. It's not working. What's going on here? Okay, very good. So some hybrid learning models involve students receiving all their instruction online, as I mentioned before, with occasional face-to-face classroom interaction like exams and other assignments. As I said, the professor decides. We know so far that it's a combination of face-to-face classes and online activity or interaction, but we decide how much of our course is going to be online and how much of our course is going to be face-to-face. And the online interaction replaces those portions of face-to-face classes that we're not going to see each other, okay? Others may combine in-person and online activities such as collaborative project work or research. All of this is possible with the hybrid learning model. I'm giving you different options because it's not something rigid. The professor, depending on the learning goals and the purpose of the class, will decide how much of each one. Okay, the key characteristic of hybrid learning is a mix of face-to-face and online instruction, with each type of instruction complementing the other. That's what we mentioned before. I'm going to have both. I'm going to decide which one is going to be face-to-face and which one is going to be online that will replace the face-to-face. I'm not repeating the same information over and over. I'm either with the students in a face-to-face environment or online. Okay, so benefits of hybrid learning. Hybrid learning has many benefits, and maybe you have experienced this type of learning model without knowing it. Like, oh, I didn't know maybe I was in a class like this one. One of the benefits that there is more time to focus on learning. What does that mean? More time to focus on learning. What does that mean? This refers to who? To the instructor or to the student?
To the students.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Absolutely. Now, with this hybrid learning process, students receive individualized attention and work at their own pace. Since there are online activities and interaction, now the student can decide when he or she is going to watch the video or get acquainted with the material, right? Because the content is there. I can watch the video the professor sends more than one time if I need to. I can go back to the reading and reread as many times as I think is necessary. So it's more like individualization because the student, as I said, work at his or her own pace. And of course, if I read or I watch a video as many times as I need, it means that I'm going to be engaged with the material, right? In a more effective way. And I'm going to understand better what I'm reading or watching. More flexibility for teachers. Yeah, I can go to the supermarket and buy my groceries. And I can do all those things while the students are working. Is that true? More flexibility for teachers. What does that mean? Now we're talking about the teacher, not the student. Why more flexibility? How combining face-to-face with um, online interaction can help the teacher be more flexible? How? Who can tell me?
Maybe, maybe it gives the teacher more time to prepare their classes.
Absolutely.
While
Very
while
good.
while students are working, we can focus on doing something or advancing in something else, I guess.
Very good. Teachers can plan lessons and assess students absolute learning in a variety of ways, not only face-to-face activities, but also online. Very good. Everyone has more direct access to information. We already mentioned it. There are students who are in the remote areas, the students who are connected on using Zoom or any other platform will get the same information as the students who are in a face-to-face classroom. Okay, ability to rewatch lectures, as we mentioned before, is a benefit. I can go over and over to the lectures or videos that has been shared, right? To review. Greater safety. This is related, for example, and this happened to us in the year 2020 with the pandemic, right? We had a natural, not necessarily a natural disaster, a pandemic will stop us from learning and having this interaction with our students. And not only for natural disasters, also it could be, for example, when it happens at the university, there are manifestations in the street and it's not secure or safe to go to the classroom. Well, now we know that we can have our process of learning. We can have classes with our students in a safe place like our houses. Can alleviate teacher shortage? What does that mean? Also for professors to work for them homes. As the teacher said a few minutes ago, it helps that the teacher can have more time to work at home and plan the activities and so forth, right? In a safe place. Okay, but I have to be honest. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly, as usual. Nothing is perfect, of course. So I'm going to now refer to disadvantages of the hybrid experience because we have to see also the bad part of it, right? In order to overcome it. Students need time management skills, and this can be a challenge for teachers. Teaching our students how to manage time. We already said that for this type of model, students can work at their own pace, right? But if the student doesn't know how to manage time, then the student at some point can fall behind the classes or feel overwhelmed because, oh my God, I was supposed to do this last week and I didn't do it. And I have this assignment plus this assignment and this material for this week. So students need time management skills in order to have this model working effectively. Lack of internet access can impede learning. We know that's a fact. if we do not have internet access, of course, I cannot get the information provided the professor, not even in the face-to-face. If I'm connected, for example, I cannot have access to the material. And if I don't have internet access, I cannot have also access, as I said before, to the material that has been posted. Less student participation. Working online sometimes makes students feel isolated, and it's true because you don't see anybody. You work on your own at your own pace. So it might happen that there is no active participation, and that's why instructors, professors have to provoke this type of communication, and we're going to see how in a few minutes to provoke this type of participation from the student. Now, tips for teachers or tips for instructors: communicate frequently. Online platforms give us many opportunities to communicate with our students, to text them, right, to give them feedback about their work and so forth. I have heard some teachers say, no, I'm not having my students texting me after 8. No, I don't like students texting me on WhatsApp. That's fine. You set the rules at the beginning of the course. You can say, well, we're going to use this platform to communicate, and it's going to be sometimes asynchronous, but you know you're going to get feedback from me, and that's okay. Some professors prefer to communicate with the students through WhatsApp, even though they're using a platform, because they feel comfortable with WhatsApp and they can get the information faster than just entering to the platform. That's also valid. You decide as an instructor how you're going to communicate with your students, but do so. Give feedback so they know you are there for there. Use technology to your advantage. As I said before, use what you know to enhance your classes. Be flexible. You know that students do not learn at the same pace as we mentioned before, so it cannot be rigid. If you notice that there is a content that has not been understood, give them some time to digest it. You know, you can slow down and be more flexible with that. Have an asynchronous plan. This can also happen. If you have a face-to-face class planned from the very beginning in your syllabus, but something happens, there are some manifestations, and you are not going to be able to reach nobody, not you or students, is going to be able to reach classes at the university. Well, you have an asynchronous plan, a backup plan, so you don't miss classes. But it has, as I mentioned before, an intention. It has an intention, not something out of the blue, but it's intended. Encourage video calls. This is also good to keep communication with the student so they can see you, you can see them and get to know them, right? It's not the same as the face-to-face, but it's an opportunity you have to get to know your student. Set up your classroom for connection. I know that might not be, this might not be maybe effective in some of our facilities because we don't have a lot for all the students to connect, but you can also actually provoke discussions using the platforms so they can at least interact there, right? Exchange ideas, give feedback, have peer evaluation, and so forth, or peer feedback, which is also very effective. Learn how to use the tools in advance. I cannot imagine what we suffered because I know many professors suffered in the year 2020. Imagine not knowing any tool to communicate with your students, and then suddenly you have to give these classes, these virtual classes. I know it was like very overwhelming, but now that we know better, now that we have had experience after these almost 3 years, learn how to use the tools in advance. As I mentioned before, if you're going to have, for example, if you're going to use 2 or 3 apps or platforms, try to learn as much as you can about those 3 to become an expert and avoid frustration and confusion because it's very stressing and it provokes a lot of anxiety when you're trying to do something, for example, and you cannot share screen and you don't know how to do something and everybody's like, you can look at the camera and just waiting there. It provokes a lot of confusion also among the students and frustration as a teacher, right? So learn how to use the tools. If you're going to use Zoom, okay, I'm going to sit, I'm going to practice. How do I help people join the meeting? How do I do to make the microphone available and so forth? You practice. I do all the time. And sometimes, I practice, technology will, sometimes passes a bill there. But at the end, it's a good tip. It's very recommendable to learn how to use the tools in advance. Do not wait until the class to see what you're going to do. Practice before. Make everything visible and structured. This is what Professor Lucy mentioned a few minutes ago. How she felt when she had a platform with all the information that the professor provided, even though they had face-to-face class. And that's a fact. When you have everything visible and structured, students know what they can expect from the class. Students know what they can expect from you. It makes it easier because they have a structure and everything is visible. That's why you have a platform. Okay, we're going to do this week. We're going to do this during this module. We are expected to submit this. I'm expected to watch this video before this time. So having due dates, having the topics, having the lesson plan very structured and visible will help the students be more effective in the learning process because they know where they're going. Okay? Share lesson plans in advance. As I mentioned before, well, this is part of our responsibility as our duty as professors. We should provide the syllabus or the lesson plan at the beginning of the course. So this is not something new, but it's also good to refresh our memory about our duty. Make time for remote students because you're going to give them feedback. It's okay to slow down. For example, if you see, as I mentioned before, that some students or the students are not getting sometimes there is a type of content in the courses that makes it more difficult for students to attain. Well, if that is the case, it's okay to slow down, provide more material, reinforce the content, and then you move on. It cannot be rigid. That's why I have always said that syllabus cannot be rigid. They have to be flexible because you don't know how everything is going to happen in the process. Get to know your students and let them get to know you. How do you get to know your students? For example, in this type of learning model, that you're going to see them sometimes, but you're not going to see them sometimes. Can someone give me an example on how you can get to know them? How do you get to know your students? Anybody, just tell me what you think. It's okay. We don't have right or wrong answers here. We're all instructors and we're learning, as I said, from each other, exchanging ideas and experiences. How do you think you get to know your students and let them get to know you? How can you do
Maybe, maybe through calls.
that? Okay.
It,
Thank
it
you,
may
Rashida.
it maybe don't have to be like videos because I used to call like every day. I would call like 3 students to try to talk to them like at least 30 seconds, 1 minute. So little by little, I
Very
got to
nice.
know them.
Very nice. Thank you, Briseida, for sharing. Yes, that's an excellent idea. Having video calls with the students, you can send them a survey, like asking them about their favorite, what they prefer, their what type of skill, English skill they prefer, one of their major virtues, right? So you can ask them like their favorite type of music, because that will guide you to get material also for the online classes. If I see that my students, for example, are between the range of 18 and 22, and I send them a survey to see what type of music they like or what they do in their free time or their leisure time. And most of the students say, we like to watch Netflix series. I know where I can go to get material to make it more attractive for the course. You see, for example, right? Very good. And try new things, have fun. And this is what we're doing right now. Don't be scared. It's a challenge for everybody. As I said, I'm not really to technology myself, and I admit it. I have to accept my limitations, but that doesn't stop me from learning new things. So why not try new things and have fun? Learn from your students, learn from your colleagues, and learn from yourself. This is about the hybrid learning model. Now I'm going to talk about the flipped classroom. It includes, again, both face-to-face and online components. Wait a second, Beatriz, you mentioned that as a characteristic of the hybrid learning model, yes, but the flipped classroom also has this type of characteristic. So it's also a combination of face-to-face and online components. So what will be the difference there then? The way in which students interact with course content is different than in a traditional course. And here comes the difference, or what makes the flipped classroom unique in comparison to the others. In traditional course, students learn fundamental concepts in the classroom. It means that the professor goes to the classroom, gives a master class, provides activities, we practice, we discuss, right? And then after that, the students engage with material that build upon that knowledge outside the classroom. So I get the information in the classroom, and then after practicing or doing activities, I build up or reinforce that material outside the classroom with the activities or the assignments that the professor provides. In the flipped classroom, students learn essential knowledge prior to class. I repeat, in the flipped classroom, students learn essential knowledge prior to class. It could be through readings, podcasts, or videos. What does that mean? That the student comes with the information to the classroom. It's not that the professor is going to explain everything in the classroom. The student already understands the material. The student has already digested the material. And when this, so the question is, so what do they do in the classroom? If they already learned everything outside, well, when they come to the classroom, then they are going to discuss. They are going to reinforce the content guided by the professor. But it's not that the professor is going to explain everything. That happens before the class. So knowledge takes place through activities conducted in class with the support of the instructor, but the information is already given. And for this type of learning model, the student needs to be aware that it takes a lot from him or her to be successful in the class, in the course, because the student cannot wait for the teacher to give all the information. They are responsible of their own learning. In the classroom, it's going to be reinforced as by the professor, but it's not the professor is giving all the material. Opposite to traditional classes. In traditional class, professor will come, give the master class activities, and then you will build up upon that outside the classroom. Not here. It's the opposite. That's why we call it the flipped classroom. Again, this type of model has to be implemented with an intention. At the beginning of the course, students should know the intention that this course is intended, and they should have all the information so they know what is going to be expected from them. And then we have the blended learning. I'm not going to say much about the blended learning because Professor Corina Rodriguez is going to talk about this after recess. But I just want to give a very brief overview of the characteristics of blended learning, which is the one we're going to use for the seminar. If you notice, the title is digging into blended learning using Google Classroom. So I share with you characteristics of the other two, just to let you know that there are many other learning models out there, but we're going to use the blended learning model for this seminar, okay? So a blended classroom allows learners to study at their own pace. Again, we mentioned this as a characteristic of the hybrid learning model, right? Because we have online activities, we have online interaction. Blended learning is an approach to learning that makes use of both traditional classroom learning and online learning. I repeat that part. Blended learning is an approach to learning that makes use of both traditional classroom learning and online learning. So what would be the difference between this type of learning model and the hybrid learning model? We're going to take the flipped classroom out of this because we know that for that one, the student needs to be prepared prior to class. So we're going to forget about that one. But based on this characteristic of the blended learning, I would like to tell me, what do you think is the difference between the blended learning model and the hybrid learning? Who can tell me? Who would like to give it a shot? It uses, again, face-to-face classes and online classes or online interaction. So what will be the difference? Okay, think about it. Think about it. Don't tell me yet. Think about it. Because as I said, there is specific characteristic that distinguishes this one from the others. Each one has a specific characteristic. As an instructor, the whole process can seem somewhat overwhelming at first, particularly if you have decades of experience in just face-to-face learning. If you're used to face-to-face learning, and now you have to blend things and how I'm going to combine the face-to-face with the online interaction, it can be overwhelming at the beginning. But if you know where you're going, if you know your goals, If you know the learning objectives you want to attain with the students and practice, you will get it.
I think this is
Um,
about the resources.
Yes, Marisol, you were raising your hand. Yes, thank you very much. About resources, yes. Okay, keep it there because we're going to talk about that in a minute. Marisol, you're raising your hand.
Okay,
Is my
yes,
time over?
yes. For me, with hybrid learning, there is a number of students that attend class and the others online. But with blended learning, they all have to attend in-person classes and online. I think that's the difference. I think. I'm not sure.
Very interesting.
Mm.
Very interesting. Huh. Will that be true? Do we agree? Okay. Yeah, it makes sense, Marisol. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so as I said, it's going to be a very brief overview about different types of learning models. These are not the only three that exist out there. There are many others. I chose these three just to have an idea because sometimes they overlap. Some people use them interchangeably, and that's not true. They have the specific characteristics. Now, if you call one like the other, nothing happens as long as you know what you're doing in the classroom. As long as you know your intention for the course. As long as you know why you are choosing a specific learning model to attain what in the course. That's the key here. Not necessarily knowing the name, but knowing when to do it and how to do it and why you're doing it. Okay, so the question will be, why Google Classroom? There are so many platforms out there. We have Schoology, Edmodo, what else? I cannot think of any other right now because I can think of Google Classroom.
Chamilo.
There's, I'm sorry?
Chamilo.
Exactly, very good. So there are many
Model.
platforms.
Also
Oh,
Canvas, we also have Canvas instruction.
you see, very trendy. I know. Thank you very much, Canva. Yeah, very trendy. And it's a beautiful platform too. I think it's very, very attractive. Very good. So as you mentioned, there are many platforms out there, but why Google Classroom? Well, for one thing, what technology? Yes, go ahead.
In my opinion, what happened is that Classroom is the most flexible one. And it's user friendly.
Okay. All right. It's friendly. Okay. That
And
could be.
also something else is that most of the time when we want to have like external applications, most of the time it's easier to integrate it to Google Classroom.
Very good. And we're going to see that throughout the week. Thank you very much, Anelda. You're very right. Yes, there are many platforms. I'm not trying to say that this one is better than the others, but this specific platform has many benefits for a blended class. Thank you very much, Anelda. You're right. Technology improves the quality of teaching and learning process, offering and providing more flexibility. That is true. As I said before, technology is here to stay. So we have to embrace, you have to fall in love with the enemy. That's what I did. Because as I said, I'm not a very technological person, but I knew that I needed technology. So I could not be in a cold water with technology anymore. I had to use it. So, make peace and it would help you a lot. Google Classroom is an open source. It is a free application. This is one of the best benefits. It's a free application, so you don't have to pay for it. Designed to help students and teachers, as Enelda mentioned, communicate, collaborate, organize, manage assignments. In other words, to go paperless. Many, many advantages with Google Classroom. I'm not getting paid for this commercial, just to make it clear. But as Enelda mentioned, it has many benefits for a blended class. Application available for any user with Google Apps for education and tools such as Gmail, Drive, and Docs. So if you have a Gmail account, you are set to use Google Classroom. Okay. Any comments or questions so far? No? Okay, very good. So I think we're ready now for the breakout rooms that I'm going to explain. As I said before, we already had a very brief overview of 3 different types of learning models: the hybrid learning model, the flipped classroom, and blended learning. So what I would like you to do now is to get into groups, and Joy is going to help us with that. And you're going to use a 3-circle Venn diagram to compare and contrast, the hybrid, flipped, and blended learning models. I don't know if you are acquainted with this type of diagram, but what I wanted to make it very simple. Let's not stress about this right now. I just wanted to get like the most important characteristics from each one. And when you have this type of diagram, just to explain, well, where you see only the circle with one color, it means that there you're supposed to identify the characteristics specific to that model. And where you see that the two circles overlap, it means that there you write the characteristics that are shared um, by both models. And the yellow part is the center in which the three circles blend or overlap. That's the characteristic that all the three models share. Okay. Um, so to make it simple, just identify characteristics specific to each one of the models, and in the yellow part or the center, the characteristics that they have in common. What makes them unique and what they have in common. I would like this to be made in groups. If it is too difficult to do it using this type of, because I tried to look for the link, but I couldn't. I'm very sorry. There is a link to make this, but I couldn't find it. And you're not very technological, that's fine. Discuss with the members of the group, discuss with your colleagues about characteristics that are unique to each one, what they share in common. And if you cannot present the Venn diagram, you can do it with a three-column chart, just, just explain or illustrating what the model is, characteristics, and what they have in common. I don't know if I make myself understood, or should I repeat the instructions? Joel, are you there? I would like to know if they can choose their groups for this activity, or you already have the groups assigned.
Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. We
Hello.
are going to assign the groups. How many participants per group? Please let me know.
Uh-huh. We are, how many are we so far?
44 is the number, 44, Betty.
Okay, so well, let's say 40 students. We can have maybe 10 groups of 4 students. Because
Okay, importantly here, for participants, please, these groups will be the same group for the whole week, okay? So try to get in touch with groups, share numbers, or share any way of contact for you to work in case something happens when you're going to work in group, because we are going to group you after this session in the same groups, okay?
Okay, Joel, I would like to say something before they go to the breakout rooms. Well, first of all, thank you very much for your attention. I hope the information I shared with you was meaningful. You learned something new, or at least you had the opportunity to think about the different models. And the second thing is that it's, according to my watch, is 9:26. So maybe they can take like 10 to 15 minutes to discuss, to prepare the visual they're going to share. And then we can use the last minutes before 10 so they can share what they did in the Venn diagram or the 3-column chart. Is that okay? Does it make any sense? So 10 to 15 minutes to work in group, and then to go back and share the screen or share what you did in the group.
So importantly, if you are using a cell phone device or a tablet, you should go to the 3 dots and says join breakout room. Or if you are using any device, there could be a message that will pop up on your screen, will say join breakout room. Do that because that's the only way to join the breakout rooms, all right? So is everybody here ready? I'll send you to the groups. You tell me the time. Could you tell me the time, Professor?
Sure.
Pinoco?
According to my watch, we have like 32 minutes left before recess. So maybe they can take like 10 to 15 minutes, 15 minutes to 10 to 15 minutes to work on the assignment. And then the last 15 minutes for them to present. So they can share a screen or whatever. You choose one speaker for the group. That's fine. Or if more than one person wants to participate. As I said, I don't want technology to be an obstacle to do the assignment. If you cannot use the Venn diagram, that's fine. You can just show a chart or you use your creativity. As long as you show main characteristics of each one and what they have in common, it's perfect. That's the idea here. Okay?
Okay.
So just be creative.
Perfect. It says room 1, which means group 1. Okay? Room 1 means group 1. Room 2, group 2. So keep in mind your room number, which means your group. Okay? Join. Go ahead.
Okay. One moment. Let me say something here. Sorry, I connect twice with my laptop and with my cell phone because in the laptop the camera are not working. So I just joined the group number 6 in my cell phone.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead. Just make sure you join one group and that's the group you're going to work with for the rest of the week. No problem.
Please join your groups. Please, everyone here, join your groups. Hello, people. We're still missing people to join here the groups. Osiris Villarreal, Randy Morales, Raquel, are you here? Anthony, Ariel Perez, are you here?
Yo veo a Osiris en, I see Osiris in room 3.
Okay, yeah, she said that she has 2 devices.
Yeah, 2 devices, exactly.
Asael Lorenzo, Raquel, are you
I'm
here?
here. I'm here, but
Please
I'm
join
from
your
my
group.
cell phone, but I don't know how to join the group.
There is a 3 dots next to the share screen button where you have to click join breaker room.
I cannot see them. Oh my God.
Yariela, are you here?
Definitely I can't. I don't see the dots.
So next to the icons that you have, it says participants, it says share screen. There are 3
I got
dots.
there plus, and then when I got there, I got chat, configuración de reunión, fondos y efectos, and nothing else.
Go there where it says chat and scroll down and you will say join breaker room.
No, there isn't.
Okay, let me send you again the link, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Check if it pops up in your screen.
Now I can see it. Now I can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Ariel Pérez. Randy Morales, Hilda, and Ariel, they are still outside the classrooms, outside the breakout rooms. Professor Randy? Professor Perez, Ariel Perez, do you have any difficulties joining the breakout rooms? It is important for you to join the breakout rooms because these are going to be your working groups during the whole seminar. So make sure you are joining the breakout rooms. Professor Randy Morales, do you need any help? Apparently he's not there.
Randy Morales, are you here, Randy Morales? Randy Morales? Randy, are you here? Tenemos acá. Okay. Randy Morales. We don't know about Randy Morales. Is Randy Morales here? So participants will come back to the main room in 2 minutes.
Joel, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
There is a participant that is requiring the code for the classroom because she has been unable to connect. Can you share it?
No,
Please.
I don't have the classroom code. I didn't receive the link. I think Professor Marisol should have that.
Okay.
So people are coming back to the main session.
Hello, Beatriz. Yes, your microphone is off.
Wait a second. I cannot find the microphone now. Can you hear me now?
Yes. We
Yes,
couldn't
Professor.
finish.
Okay, very good. Sorry. You see, I'm using two devices. You see?
Yes,
Technology
you
is
are.
like,
Yes, you
where
are
to go? Very
included.
good.
Hi, hola.
I
Yeah.
hope you have the time to prepare.
No, we didn't.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Well, the idea was to come up with the main characteristics and what makes them unique and what they have in common. If you didn't have to do the Venn diagram, that's okay. Just, share what you got. I hear an echo, I don't know why. Before we go with the presentations of what you did, I couldn't go to all the breakout rooms, I'm sorry, but I was able to see some of them. Very interesting discussions about what is going to happen in our classes now that we go back to face-to-face classroom with many students and limited facilities. A colleague shared in the chat that the flipped classroom is an example of a blended learning model. Is that true? Can we say that?
Yes, Professor.
Yes, very good.
I would
Very
say
good.
that it is a kind of blended learning
Yes.
because it is not, it's like the same, but
It's
it's
a
a kind
type.
of blending. Yeah.
That's right. It's a type of blended learning model. But as I said before, more than being concerned on naming things, it's knowing their characteristics and using them with an intention in your classes. That's the key here. That's the message that I want to leave. Whether it's named one day or the other, one way or the other, it's to know when to use it, how to use it, and what. Okay? So I'm not going to take more time because we only have like 10, 12 minutes left. So let's go with volunteers to share. Do you have any group? Or
Yeah, we have
okay.
group number 1.
Okay, Lucy, very good. Thank you. Group number 1 is going to share. Thank you.
So we have it here. We had
Very
like
nice.
the Venn diagram here. And we were discussing, we really didn't have enough time to check everything.
Sorry
But we tried to apply by sharing this Canva. So we have all the members, most of the members of the team are here. As you can see here, Karen Olson, she's also writing in the group. And we were like having the blended, and we say that the blended learning is mainly face-to-face with technology as a tool. And also like another way to express it is like using traditional teaching plus the online teaching. And then we go to the hybrid, that was a combination of platforms. But in this case, I don't know if we understood it well, is that the class is face-to-face and the same class can be observed or someone can participate in a Zoom or something like this. Like there is a camera there and the person can interact even if the person is not in the classroom. Is that right? I don't know. And then the flip one is like it's face-to-face and online components, but the learning, the knowledge would be can be caught like prior to the classes. Is that right, Karen?
That's right. I think so.
Yeah, because she was the one that was like writing this part. Would you like?
I can like explain a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yes. I set up this characteristic because that is what I got from you, teacher Tinoco. So I understood that it is about face-to-face and online components, so combine both elements. And it also is about learning certain material prior classes, just to be like prepared for developing something else in the classroom. And also is about knowledge through activities which are conducted in class with the support of an specialist or an instructor.
Yeah, good. I don't know if Eileen or Anthony wanted to explain, or Professor Gloria, the things in common that they have.
Hi, yes, I'm Eileen. Okay, three of them have in common that the three of them use technology. We can use platforms, programs, or apps with any of them. We have a flexibility. We can take virtual classes from any place we are at the moment. They are very versatile, right? We can organize our class however we want, in any schedule we want. And obviously they have in common that we have the face-to-face classes, right? All of them have the face-to-face classes, obviously organized in a different way, but we see each other, right, in all of them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good.
I think we're done.
Excellent job. Excellent job, group number one. Yes, you are very right. They all have in common that they use technology and face-to-face classes. The number of face-to-face classes versus the amount of online instruction depends on the style. You are very right. And for the flipped classroom, that what makes it unique is precisely what you said, that they have to prepare before class. Thank you very much. A round of applause for group number one. Excellent job. I think we have time for some other groups. I don't know if we have time for all of them, but if we have any other volunteer, that was a nice, very nice. You see what I told you? Canvas, very trendy, and it's beautiful, very attractive. You see, they were able to use that tool. Perfect, well done. Any other volunteer, any group, any other group? We still have time for some other. Group number 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That would like to share.
Okay, good morning.
Good
This is
morning.
group number 2. Sorry, we have the difficulty to download the diagram, but we have the information. We shared and we discussed what we understood previously.
Okay.
So may I share with you what we have, because we don't have the diagram.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes, Shadow, go ahead.
Oh, okay, I was waiting for your answer, sorry.
I said, okay,
well,
I'm sorry, you didn't hear me. Yeah, of course.
Okay, well,
You're
we
more
were
than
talking.
welcome.
Thanks a lot. And we were talking about the flipped classroom. And we were discussing that it's a good tool. We need to be familiar with technology, and it's a way in which we are going to send information to our students in advance of time. So they may manage some of concepts, some essentials. They are going to acquire the information previously and be encouraged of that. So when we have the session or the blended form, we can be able to solve them in the blended classroom, like different solve doubts. Okay, in this case, the approach is going to involve, as our colleague said, both systems, the traditional and the online. And then we are going to work in that way. In the case of, in the similarities, we found that they are going to be face-to-face, they are going to be online, it's going to be safe, flexible, and time management is necessary too.
Very good. Excellent job. Thank you very much, Sharon. Congratulations to group number 2. Very good.
Group number 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, group number 4. I heard group number 2. Okay, group number 4.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other volunteer? We still have time. While the next group gets ready, something I would like to point out about the flipped classroom that we say very easily, like students prepare prior to class, but this is not easy for students because we're not used to that type of instruction. We have learned since we were in high school that the teacher comes, provides the information, and from there we develop our learning. Oh, we're ready with the next group. Perfect. Go ahead.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is group number 2. Very briefly, because we also had we were discussing too much, and then we have very little time to work on the actual diagram. But some of the things that we saw about the use of these 3 different teaching modes was that they all require the use of technology for them to happen. And it involves everybody in all of them. And they, at some point, will have students working at home. So those are the things that we saw in common. Then for the hybrid students, they are divided into 2 groups. We have the group that will be at home while we have another group in the classroom, but they all learn like synchronously, like they all learn the same thing at the same time. There's no like one thing for students to do at home and one thing for the students to do in the classroom. They are all expected to be doing the same type of assignment. So that requires the teacher to actually plan activities accordingly so that whatever the teacher is planning for students to do needs to be something that happens or can happen actually in the classroom as well as at home. In the case of blended learning, everybody is in the same group and students work in the classroom with certain activities, synchronously with the professor, but then the students later do some work remotely, asynchronously, and normally through the use of technology. And for the flipped classroom, students first are given a material or something for them to analyze, to discuss, to see previously before they see the information with the professor in the classroom, and then they start practicing and working on it. So something that caught my attention in this particular topic was that there are certain things that are really necessary for these different type of systems to work. And in the case of technology, they all rely on technology. Technology really needs to be good, reliable, efficient, and it needs to be consistent for every user in the system. Because if the professor doesn't have good technology, it will be very difficult for the professor to use that technology with the students. Or if the professor doesn't know how to use it, that will be another problem. Or if the student doesn't have access to good technology and consistent technology, for example, they use their data and suddenly they run out of data and they cannot be connected online, and that gives us another problem. So there are other aspects of it that we were considering as well, not only similarities and differences, but we are also looking at what are the challenges for these different systems. That's group number 2.
Lillian, can I use your
Sorry,
chart to talk about something?
Yes.
Lillian, can you leave it, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In the chart, they're asking for the similarity that we have between hybrid and flip-flop. And we as a group, we came up with the characteristic that in hybrid and flip, the students work in the classroom. That is what they have similar. And you can see in hybrid, both groups receive information, student divided into 2 groups, home and class. So with hybrid and flip, we have the similarity that they have classes in the classroom. Do you agree, Teacher Tinoco? I'm okay?
Well, not necessarily in the same order you are mentioning. Yes, in both type of learning models, we're going to see they're going to work with material, but the difference between hybrid and flip, as Mr. Rios mentioned, and well done, group number 2, congratulations, is that in the flipped classroom, students are going to prepare the material before class. So they are not going to wait for the teacher to come to class and provide information like a master class. That is not going to happen.
That's the difference. I was talking about similarities. Similarities.
Okay.
Both of them have classes in the classroom.
Yes.
That's a similarity.
Yes, that's true. That's very
And when
true.
I go to the blended and the hybrid, the blended and the flip-flop, also you can see that they work in the classroom. But the flip, student work in the classroom, and the blended, they also have a group that is working in the classroom. We are looking at similarities.
That's right. Actually, that's a similarity for the 3 of them. Yes, they share that similarity. Yes.
Thank you, Eleni, for lending me your diagram.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. And I'm very glad you had the time to discuss about some of the challenges that we actually discussed with the disadvantage of this type of learning models. We need internet access, and all of these aspects must be taken into consideration when you're going to plan this type of instruction. Okay, I don't know if we have time for one more. It's 10 o'clock and I want to be respectful toward your time. So Joel, you let me know if we have to finish here because I know we won't have time to see everybody, but I don't know. I know we have Joel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. No, not anymore. The mic is off.
Now, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yes.
Yes? Okay,
And see you.
perfect. So I think that are you done with the presentations or we need more time?
Well, the thing is that there are more than 5 groups and it's already 10 in the morning and I want to be very respectful. The idea was to discuss with your colleagues and get the, similarities and differences. So it's okay if we stop here. At least I want to thank the groups that participated. Maybe for the next time, we will see the other students participating. So everybody has the opportunity to share screen and I get to see them and get to know them. For example, I already know Karen and Carmen and some others. So yeah, we can stop right here. Thank you again. Thank you again for your time and your patience. And I hope you really enjoyed and learned something new, or if not, had the time to analyze maybe things that are out there, but we never take the time to discuss. Thank you again for your time.
Okay, thank you, Professor Tinoco, for your presentation. And we are going to have 15 minutes break, all right? And then once we come back, we're going to have Professor Corina Rodriguez with a topic that is connected to the previous one, all right? So take your break, drink coffee, stretch your muscles, drink water, and come back in 15 minutes, okay?
Yes, stay there. I mean, don't get out of the room. Stay in the room, but go ahead and take your break. See you in 15 minutes.
Hello, 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 hello. Are we back? Is everybody here?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
How was coffee? Was it good? Did you have coffee?
I want to say kind of.
Professor Corina, are you ready? Professor Corina?
Yeah, sure, sorry.
Perfect. So now, the second part of this morning, we are going to have Professor Corina Rodriguez. She will be talking about would we use blended learning? But I would like to introduce Professor Corina. Professor Corina Rodriguez del Rosario teaches at the English department of the University of Panama. She has worked as a learning consultant for National Geographic Learning and McGraw-Hill Publishing Company. He has a bachelor's degree in humanities with a major in English and a master's degree in teaching English as a second language, specialist in translation, and a diploma in virtual learning environments. In addition, she participated in the Teaching Excellence and Achievement Program at George Mason University, Virginia. Welcome, Professor Corina. Virtual applause for you.
Great, thanks, Joel. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here sharing this morning this topic. As following Professor Beatrice's presentation, I'm gonna get deeply into blended learning. Let me see if I get to share the screen with you. Okay, as you can see, the topic is why would we use blended learning? In fact, what I'm going to try to do is to convince you of using blended learning. Okay, let's see how that goes. Okay, to get us started, let's reflect a bit on the following quote. Technology will never replace great teachers, but in the hands of great teachers, it's transformational. Is there anybody here who agrees with this quote? Raise your hands. Raise your hands if you agree with this quote. Very good, thanks. Due to the pandemic, very good, thank you. Due to the pandemic, we were all forced to use technology for our classes. Most of us were not used to do it that way. So I would like some of you to share how has been your experience using technology in your classes now that you are back to face-to-face classes, now that you're back to the classroom. You can use the chat if that makes you comfortable. Or turn on your microphones. Share with us your experience. For some of us, it has been more challenging than from others, right?
Good morning, Teacher Corina. Nice to meet you. For me, first it was a challenge, I think, as for everyone. I had to, at the beginning, I was very insecure about using it. Thank God I had my daughters here. They were always behind me. If anything happened, they will help me during the classes. But after, at least last year, when we went back, I felt so comfortable with it that now I really rely a lot on it. because I've seen and I've learned that it really helps, makes our life very easy, and it makes us interact more with the students and get, like keep actual in what's happening. As a role model, students can see that we are also trying to use it, and they sometimes even they help us. They help us a lot to learn new things, as the teacher Beatrice was saying, Canvas. I started using simple things, and now I realize that I learn a lot with my daughters and with my students. So I feel more secure now to use it. And really, I prepare practically all my classes relying a lot on the technology. So I think it's really, really great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else have had a very good experience working with technology in your classes?
Okay, my name is Enalda, and I have the previous professor. For me at the beginning was a big challenge, but now I see that technology, as you have said before, it have just came to stay with us. If we don't learn how to use technology, I mean, we are behind. We don't know anything. I mean, because right now everything has to do with technology, and technology can make your classes more interactive. Like through technology, I have learned to create many things with technology that I wasn't able to do that before. Even though I'm not a technology, I mean, I'm not a person that handle technology like some people. I mean, some professor that has a study. Whatever thing I have learned I have learned because I have been pushing myself to do that. And because I know that that is something that is the students like. For example, there are a lot of games you can find in online that you can get those up. You can get to that into those applications, and when you are teaching students, for example, nouns. They're gonna be learning that whatever English noun, but they're gonna learn that through a game. And sometimes they get too motivated when they are learning like that. And also, I have been engaged in online learning. I have been studying since I started studying. I think that by the pandemic time, and I still studying online. So it has been wonderful because it's not only for the students, it's also for us as professors that we want to keep updating and we want to still studying. I mean, technology have allowed us a lot because sometimes you can find a place where you can, if you want to study, I mean, this is something that I have free and you have that time to study. And that was something that we were not able to do before. But now with technology, I mean, we can do that. So thanks to technology. I know that technology is not going to replace a human because always behind something that has to do with technology, there should be a person behind.
Absolutely, agree. As Professor Rafael pointed out in the chat, it was challenging at the beginning and exhausting, learning how to handle the online classes like the synchronous ones, using a platform like this one, like Zoom, deciding which one works better. Your students struggling to get into your classes was not that easy. Okay, but definitely it will never replace us. We are the masterminds behind them. Okay, so let's get a little deeper into blended learning. Blended learning is an educational methodology that blends online or digital components with face-to-face instruction. Let's have it clear. What we are proposing with blended learning is not to replace classes using technology. It's not to replace the face-to-face instruction. What blended learning suggests and proposes is that we make use of technology, as Enelda was saying, to enhance our classes, right? As Professor Carmen Pyle has just posted. We want to make our teaching more effective. And that's absolutely what we are looking for when we talk about blended learning. Blended learning does not necessarily require learning management system, a platform like Google Classroom, like Teams, Moodle, or Schoology. It can even work, as we will see later on. We can even blend our classes without using a learning management system. However, we have all learned that if we have a platform where students can reach out for more content, for more practices, or even to watch a video class, is a lot helpful. It helps you to have everything organized in just one. Okay, so just to make it clear, again, blended learning does not replace face-to-face instruction. It works as an aid to your classes. Okay, any comments? Any questions? Okay, let's move on. So what would be the purpose based on that? What is expected from this methodology is to create a truly integrated classroom where the needs of all types of learners are met. Is that really possible? We all have different types of learners. We all have students that, you just start talking about a topic and they have already understood it. They're coming up with examples and, are able to grasp the idea from the very beginning. But we have some other students that really struggle to understand, that really need more than you in the classroom explaining. They need maybe a video, they might need reading, they might need other things. Do you really think it's possible you can meet the needs of all types of learners? Is that really possible? What would you say? Any ideas? Is it possible that we can meet the needs of all types of learners? Okay, Lucy, could you please? Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I had to talk. But yes, there are tools for all kinds of learners. The only thing is that we don't know all the tools, maybe.
Right.
For example, the ADHD students, people with attention deficit, we need some special tools to learn. Probably me as an attention deficit person, I know my tools, I know my necessities. So I look for them when for example, when I have a class and I don't get everything because I'm distracted. I need a video to watch later. I need a book to get references. That's my style. But I don't know other people, like when you have a vision problem, you probably need to listen to a podcast to understand better something. So each person knows. So the teacher should also, if you have a student with a special need, maybe you have to look for information.
Absolutely, I'm with you. It happens to me as well. Learning from listening is not that easy for me. I need to see, I need to read, I need to do things in order to understand. I think, thanks very much, Lucy. I appreciate that. I just wanted you to elaborate a bit more from your comment on the chat. Thank you. Professor Gooding, I think you had your hand up. Florencia, there was something you wanted to share? Your microphone is off.
Sorry. Reinforcing what Lucy just said, I agree. We can do it. Yes, we can fulfill the needs of any student depending on the situation. And if we, as teachers, we search for information in order to meet the needs of the student, and in this way help them. For example, in conversation, it's just to give an example. Sometimes we have students where we give them an assignment and maybe at the moment they don't really understand. If we search or look for a video that has to do with the assignment that was assigned, the student might be able to understand really what he or she has to do in order to develop and grow and enhance knowledge as a student. The key point here is to search for information in order to help the student and in order to enhance what we are trying to teach.
Very good. Well said. In fact, that's precisely the heart of blended learning. And it's a pretty good example, the one Professor Florencia pointed out, having in the platform a video that explains from another point of view, maybe from another perspective, or using different words, the same thing that you're teaching in the classroom. Very good. Let's see. So the idea is to allow all learners of all abilities to advance at a rate that works for them. So even you can work with the fast learners and let them, look for more information about the topic, find more things if they want to. So they don't feel limited because they might be in a classroom where the rest of the students are still trying to understand, right? Okay, so it works for fast learners as well as with struggling students. They can go at their own pace. They can go back to the platform, find ideas, find practices, maybe extra practices that will help them really master the topic, the concept that is being taught in class. And the good thing about any of these models that have been presented this class this morning is that the access it's from anywhere as far as you have internet connection. So let's move on. Let's find some ways in which blended learning can be used. Professor Beatriz mentioned a type of blended learning, the flipped classroom, which was or has been very popular. Give me a second. Here we go. So the thing with blended learning is that there is not really a format you have to use to say, I'm using blended learning. There are different ways in which it can be practiced, but you need to decide what is that you're going to blend. You are the ones who know your students the best, right? So you need to customize your content, maybe, or find a technology that might work better with your students, right? There is, as I have said, there is not a format that you will follow. There are different ways in which blended learning works. And there are other aspects that needs to take into consideration that we will see in a minute, because we do not only need to consider the students, but we need to consider ourselves. What are we comfortable with? What are we comfortable blending Okay, it's not that you say, I'm gonna use blended learning and I'm gonna use it for everything, and I'm gonna use this platform because it looks nice, because other professors are using it. You need to find the technology that works for you. And I guess most of us have already had experience on that subject. Okay, this is one option. Online coursework. You can have your blended learning, and the only thing the students are going to do in the online is going to be the assignments. You can decide, okay, they're going to receive all in-person instructions, even practices, even tests, but the only thing they're going to blend, or you are going to blend, and the only thing they're going to do is the assignments. If you decide to do that, that's something you must tell them from the very beginning of this semester. We have to be careful on what we post in the platforms when we are using blended learning. We need to remember that our students come from the pandemic era, let's call it that way, where they did everything online. So they might get confused and start doing like everything online because they heard it from their classmates, maybe what has been done in the class, but they need to understand, and that's your role from the beginning of the semester. So what I'm trying to say is that blended learning is not an emergency tool. And I think Professor Beatriz pointed that out perfectly clear. It doesn't mean that there were demonstrations around the university, the classes were canceled, and you are going to have the assignment on the platform that day because there were no classes. It doesn't work that way, okay? It must be planned. You should decide from the beginning, after considering certain aspects, what you're going to blend. So this is
60
one.
per
Yes.
minute for an athlete, 40.
I'm sorry? Okay. So the second one, sorry, I have to go back. Okay. So the engagements of students in online instructions is another way of blending learning, of blending your classes. This is precisely related to Professor Gooding's idea. The students are going to receive the instructions in the classroom. They are going to listen to us. They are going to discuss. They are going to see example. But after the class, they are going to find a video that reinforces what you try to explain in the classroom, what you try to do in the classroom. Again, blended learning purpose is to help, to be an aid in the teaching process. It's this, when you look at it, it's from this point of view, even though flipped classroom is a type of blended learning, we don't have it all the time. You don't need to have it that way all the time. It does not replace the instruction. In flipped classroom, students watch the video or read the information before the class, so they are able to follow the class in an easier way. But it is followed by face-to-face instruction. It is not replacing your instructions, your explanations. Follow what I'm saying? I hope so.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay, this is another way of using blended learning. It's project-based online learning. It could be that you decide that what you're going to blend is just a project. You are going to have your students work on a project online. They can collaborate, not during the hour, during the class time, during their time using, and I will show that tomorrow, how you can do that in Google Classroom and even see which specific student will be collaborating to that project. But the project ends up with a classroom discussion. So you're always taking like whatever you do online to the classroom, back to the classroom is how project-based online learning works. It's not just submitting the project in the platform, but taking it back to the classroom and present it to the classmates so they can discuss or get ideas from. Okay, one of the most common models used in blended learning is the station rotation. And in this model, it's not even done from home. Everything takes place in the classroom. You have 3 stations. In the first station is the teacher-led station. There is where they receive the instructions, further explanation, examples, ideas to work on whatever assignment you have for them. Then you can have another space in the classroom which is called the online station. It's where they can look for information or ideas online. Okay, you can even decide, okay, in this area, these cell phones are going to be allowed. You can take out your devices, look for information, or if you have a computer lab, some groups will go to the computer lab, search information over the web, but at the end, they have to come back to the offline station. And the offline station is nothing else but the students together discussing whatever the assignment is, like based on the teacher's explanation, based on the online resources, and getting all that discussion, all that information to solve a situation or to solve an assignment. Follow what I'm saying. You let me know if the station rotation is clear for you. Any questions, any comments? There are other ways in which you can use the station rotation as well. It does not necessarily have to be starting with the teacher-led station. Applying a bit of the flipped classroom, it can even start the other way around. Start with the online station where they from home have some research about a specific topic, and then they go back to the classroom and listen to the instructions your instructions, and then get into the offline station where they discuss and come up with solutions to the problem presented, if it is concerning any of the courses you teach. Okay, that's the third one, the fourth one. Then we can also have online coursework completion using video recordings. We all have child students that are not like willing to speak in front of the class, are afraid, and sometimes they get nervous simply not because they don't, and they are not able to talk, not because they don't know, but simply they have some limitations. So video recordings can also be a way of using blended learning. Again, it all depends on your students. Okay. Oh, before we get into the benefits, let me go back a bit. If you have to pick one of these ways of using blended learning, which one will you pick? If you have to pick one, or will you only pick one or use more than one?
I think we need to integrate them But if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick the second one because I think this one, the station rotation, give me the opportunity to mix everything and help all kind of students.
Okay, great. Thank you, Karen. Anybody else? I really want you to keep in mind some of the ways we are suggesting or we're presenting this morning, because later on, we are going to work on deciding how to use blended learning before tomorrow's presentations. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so definitely there are benefits. Everything you do with the purpose of helping the students is going to come up with some benefits. If we consider the benefits of blended learning, definitely the increase of learning skills would be one of them, because we are teaching them not only to follow your classes in the classroom, but also getting into looking for information. Our students are, most of them are techie students. I mean, they can get over the web and they can do a lot of things. But some of the things that they actually don't do is try to look for learning opportunities. Most of them look for movies, look for music, and they're used to do that, you know, using all the technology mostly for entertainment. So it's a way of getting them to use it for learning purposes, as I see it. Okay, some other benefits, blended learning provides greater access to information, and it improves satisfaction and learning outcomes. If you're giving the students the opportunities or the other opportunities to learn, they are gonna feel satisfied. And not only that, they will feel supported. It's a feeling that your professor cares about you, cares that you learn, really makes changes. It changes the reaction, even the way they look at your classes. And definitely it helps in that way. Learning to be virtual citizens, it's also a plus using blended learning. Digital learning skills are a requirement almost for every occupation nowadays. If you do not have digital learning skills in this century, you are in trouble, right? And we all have some digital learning skills. We use them like every day to communicate, for banking transactions, to pay bills. We are using digital learning, digital skills all the time. And we are all learning, even those of us who weren't born during this era where technology is so relevant, okay? As we have been saying, enhanced tech learning is another benefit. We can help students achieve a higher level of learning and, you know, try to customize and help those students, as we were saying, to work a bit more from home if they are struggling with the topic represented. Sometimes students are really good, but sometimes there is a topic that is a bit more challenging than others. Okay, so that's another benefit. Let's move on. This is one of the good ones. In the past, it was challenging. I remember when I was studying, I had to go to a friend's house to sit and work on assignments from the university. I remember Professor Inelda Howard comes to my mind with a very challenging assignment, and I had to go to my friends' houses, sit down, discuss, and try to to do the assignment, it was very difficult for us. It demanded a lot of time. Now that's possible in a virtual environment. So taking advantage of that, it's something we cannot, we should use, we should decide to use. Okay, flexibility, of course, when we talk about technology, but we need to be careful. With the students, you can't be that flexible because then they will be submitting things at any time or anywhere. As I said, you need to tell the rules from the very beginning. You need to establish them, establish the rules. So everything is clear from the very beginning. I remember one colleague mentioning she had last year, I think it was a face-to-face class, and she had a student that didn't attend a single class because she was posting everything online, everything in the platform. So the student didn't even go to the classroom. That's a risk we cannot take. So everything must be presented, and we need to be careful with the use of the platform as well, right? Okay, blended learning offers a platform to facilitate greater interactivity, but as I was saying, not necessarily you need a learning management system like Google Classroom. You can use others. However, it works better when you use a platform. Okay. How can we make them blended learning work? What do we need to make it work? What do you think? What do you need to make something like this, to make it work together with your face-to-face classes? What do you need to consider about you or your students? Any ideas? Is that easy?
I think that we have to consider time, organization. Although we are using platforms, we have to be very organized. Because if we're not, students are going to notice that we are not prepared. So I feel that organization from our part, and we have to take into account that time, as you said, although it's in the platform, we have to give them a specific time to return the papers or the investigation. If not, they're going to do it when they feel like. So I feel that from our point, we have to have time and take into account that time and be very organized. And students should have the compromise. They should be committed to their work, because many of them, since it's in the platform, they don't take it seriously. They feel that they have the whole semester or the whole trimester, in my case, to do it, and then they want to do one trimester in 1 week. And usually I tell them, no, you have to go little by little. You cannot do 3 months in 1 week. So we have to set and be very, they have to be very respectful of the time, and we have to be very strict with the time we give them. That's the only way they will learn to respect the time we give in for each assignment.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, the rules must be set from the very beginning. Yeah, one of the main concerns, as Lucy has pointed it out in the chat, connection problems. And we know sometimes it's, most of the times I would say it is true, but some other times the students even use it as an excuse, right? But since we're back to face-to-face classes and blended learning works as an aid, they go back to the classroom. So that issue should be solved this time. Okay, we need discipline, absolutely. It is about time students take responsibility for their own learning. They usually blame somebody else, but you know, it's about time. If you're getting all the resources in the platform, if you're getting extra videos, if you're getting extra practices, take the time to do them. And it's our role then to make them understand or help them understand how to do that. Okay. So creating an effective blended learning environments means there are decisions to make. There are choices to make. You can say, I'm gonna have the test online. Yeah, they're quick, easy to grade. It works better in some cases, but there are other things you need to take into account as well. Or you may say, yeah, I'm gonna have the assignments, as I mentioned before, but students are going to need feedback. Is that really going to work with the type of students that you're working with? So there are certain factors or certain aspects that we need to consider. And the first one is definitely technology access. We cannot ask students like to get everything from the platform if we haven't checked if they do have a device. I think that most people nowadays have a device. Most people do, but we cannot assume that. We need to check that with our students. Every student is different and the economical situation is different. And in some cases, they do have a device. However, they also need internet connection. Otherwise, there is very little or nothing they can do with that device. Okay, so that's the first thing. That's the first aspect you need to consider. The second one is decide what you're gonna do in the classroom. What would be better to do in the classroom and what might work better if you do it online with an online activity, for example. The thing is integrating the technology so that it supports your teaching activities, okay? So that it makes their learning a lot more meaningful. Okay, comments, questions so far? So good. Okay. For some people concerning safety and security, cybersecurity is like the main concern. I'm sorry, but I'm a lot more concerned about students developing unethical learning practices. Academic honesty. I think it's something we cannot, you know, say it's okay. Everybody is dishonest at some point. That shouldn't be our position concerning teaching, right? From my point of view. So whatever we do, I think we should, you know, concern about students developing unethical learning practices. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What bothers you the most?
I agree, I agree.
Thank you. Any ideas, any concerns? When we talk about online tests, that's very difficult, right? But we need to put some work on students, raising awareness and then of developing ethical learning practices, and the way we present them can really make the difference. We will see that later on during the seminar. Okay, now this is key, skill development. We need to consider and make sure that both you as instructor and your students have the technological literacy necessary to work on the assignments, to work on your blended class. That's very important. I think somebody mentioned that this morning. You shouldn't ask your students to do something online you yourself cannot do. Okay? How are you going to guide them to use a tool if you don't know how to use it? So the first thing you need to check is, what are your abilities? What are your skills concerning technology? What are you comfortable with? If you're not comfortable using other sources, other apps, then don't do it. Take the time to learn them and then you do it. So you show them, your students, how to use them as well. Okay. Motivation might seem to be easier concerning blended learning. However, I don't know if that happens to you. During online classes, virtual classes last year, I had during my classes, students struggling with certain topics. So I posted extra videos and practices, all of them ungraded. And I was heartbroken, disappointed to see that some students didn't even take the time to look to what I was sharing with them. So we also played a role here, trying to convince of students, motivate them to use the resources being posted online. Okay. Let's get started then. What do we need to get started with blended learning? Step number 1, before blending, we need to consider the course, the subject you are teaching. Every subject is unique. Every subject needs or has different requirements, right? That's the first thing you need to consider. The second thing is the students' learning needs. What do our students actually need concerning English as a second language? And the third thing is the one I just mentioned, your comfort level, what you are able to do in blended learning. Step 2, you need to decide what part of the course you're going to blend. It's going to be the activities. If so, which activities are going to be in class? Which activities are going to be out of class? The assignments, the tests, the projects, the content material. You need to decide that. You need to sit down and reflect, okay, for this class, I think it's better if we have an online project, or the assignments could be online, but then the practices will be in the classroom and things like that. So you need to sit down and reflect on which part you're going to blend. And also you can decide which learning activities, whether it's going to be the listening, the speaking activities, the reading comprehension, the writing activities, which of those might work better in a virtual environment. So there is thinking, there's some thinking, you need to go through. Now, as I mentioned before, the step number 4 is to make sure that all your students have the technology and the skills they'll need. So that's something you will need to do the very first day of class. And the last one is something that we normally do. We try activities with our students, and if we discovered that those activities are not really working, then we stop, go back, and make changes so that the activities or whatever we are doing fits more to the needs of our students and our needs as well as the professors, and to meet or achieve the objectives or the goals we have set for the course. Okay, questions, comments here so far? Now, we are gonna go to the breakout rooms once again. And I would appreciate you getting to that reflection of steps 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Get together, consider as well what you will blend. Consider which subjects might work better with blended learning. And share with your colleagues. Decide how to do it. You're gonna need that information to continue then into the Google Classroom, and how you can work both things together, blended learning along with the Google Classroom. Okay, if you don't have any questions, maybe go back a bit to the steps 1, 2, and 3, just to remind you. Step number 1, it's consider the course as that's what I wanted to do in that breakout room, the students' learning needs, and your own comfort level, your comfort zone. Step 2, decide the parts of the course that you will blend. And then the activities, which learning activities you will blend. Is that clear for everybody before we get into the breakout rooms? If it is not, let me know. Okay, remember we will be using the same breakout rooms all the week long, and we will, after this presentation, we will get a bit into explaining that. Okay, so Joel, can you please?
So, perfect. How much time do they need to work on?
Okay, let's say 20 minutes.
Okay.
So we have, we can leave some time for them to share it and then to get into the closing of today's session. Okay. Hello, we're back. So I hope you have had a wonderful experience sharing with your colleagues this morning. Okay, so let's get started with group number 1, if that's okay, Joel.
Perfectly.
Okay, so let's see, group number 1. In group number 1, we have Eileen, Anthony, Professor Gloria, Lucy, and Karen. Okay, just a short sharing of your experience.
I think each of us has an experience in the different subjects we work with. But what I got from the group is that it is very important to listen, to observe the class, the students that we have, to make little tests, to understand what kind of people we are working with, and then apply the strategies. Also to listen when people say we have problems with the platforms, we have problems with the test. And sometimes something very important that Professor Gloria said is that the information should work in both directions. So if you're gonna use the blended learning, if you, for example, decide that the final test would be in presence, face-to-face, you have to tell this from the beginning, so people are prepared. Don't make it as a surprise that, okay, surprise, final test gonna be at the university, because you know it's stressful to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was precisely one of the suggestions and recommendations concerning blended learning. It shouldn't be a surprise, as you said. Things need to be planned. You need to tell the students what's going to happen during the semester. Not like this morning, you know, I'm not about like having the instruction. Let's have it in the platform. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so we need to organize things. And when we do so, students realize and they know what kind of professor they are working with. And they're a lot more careful on what they do and how they do it. Okay, thanks very much. Anybody else from group number 1? Okay, then let's give a chance then to group number 8. Is there, in group number 8, we have Briseida, Ivan, Osiris, and Jariela. Will you share with us a bit?
Hello,
Yeah,
good
thanks,
morning.
Briseida. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, we were, I don't know if Ivan, do you want to talk?
Well, yes, we were discussing about how can we use that blended learning? So in what subject or in what, let's say, and use it for what skill? So we thought that was good in reading, but not regarding speaking, because in speaking we need to, let's say, check our students the way they do, and we prefer the face-to-face class, and then not use blended learning that way. You know, because the experience that we have using that type of teaching, because we remember on the pandemic, we used to have online classes and was kind of difficult. So we think in that way. Also that could be better for writing. I don't know anything we can also add.
Well,
Okay, is there anybody else from the group that wanted to share?
well, we
Good, that's very interesting. Yes.
Yeah,
we
we were.
had in order to, sorry, it's the same group, sorry.
Thank you, Carmen. We were saying that for those of us that last year we went back to the face-to-face, the teachers from high school and middle school, maybe we have, you know, that experience from last year, that we could use blended and face-to-face, and that's what For example, we were saying that all the reading and writing activities, we put it on the online to take advantage of the resource. Speaking, we always prefer the face-to-face because that way we can make corrections, maybe in pronunciation, and in any question that the students could have about the topic, and give our classes face-to-face when it's for explanation, explaining the subjects or the topics. So from last year, we were using both. So we have a little experience in that area.
Awesome. I think it happened to a lot of professors that they started using blended learning because you already have the resources. So why not take advantage of them? Very good. Thank you. Do we have a volunteer group? Okay. So then let's try. Yeah.
Yeah, we have composition 2. The subject that we were working on was composition 2, and we were discussing step number 1. We were talking about which were the student need that we wanted to accomplish. We need to think about it. And first we had composition 1, then we move on to composition 2. If we had composition 1, we had to take care of grammatical structure and punctuation, and that were the topic that we thought that students need in order to accomplish the composition 1. But if we go on to composition 2, we would talk about how to write effective essay. Also, we're going to have grammatical structure, but at the end, the basic purpose is to write effective essay. And there is a point that we were discussing a lot, and it was step number 4. Step number 4. We have to be sure that all of our students have a good command of the platform that we're going to use. In order to do that, I think that we should have like a class demonstration of the use of the platform. We have
also students that might need it.
Yeah.
Or then you can get videos on YouTube where you can get like tutorials to help them out.
Yeah. I used at the beginning, I used to use Schoology, and they have it. What I used to do before the class began, I sent the tutorial so that they could go through all the instruction, so that they could be sure that what they had to do in each one of the section of the platform. But this is important because sometimes with students, they need to know how to use it. And step number 2, we had outclass activities, assignment, and project. These are the structure that we going to have in the blended. Why? Because as I was telling my group, we had a bad experience with tests online. So the test would be in the classroom. Okay, and I don't know if anyone of the group want to say something else, but that is what we were discussing.
Very good. That's the idea. We can get a lot out of our colleagues, and they create like a support group also as we are struggling with certain issues. Okay, that was group number 4. Let's give it a chance to group number 7. There is Professor Joanne, Adrian Jimenez, Sharon, Brincy. Is there anybody from that group that would like to share? Yes.
Good morning. For me, this seminar was very important because I was refreshing my knowledge because I was at home for 2 years taking care of my kids. And this is very, some of the topics are new for me, but I with my college or partner, we talk about that we can use that or paying attention step by step. For example, The course we were talking about was grammar, that we can blend in that using also, for example, readings, that the student can pay attention on the grammar in the reading. And also it will take a part in activity class, like the step 2. They said that in class activity. And in number 3, we use the reading tools, but they need to pay attention what they listen, and after that they make a resume about what they understand on the reading. And the technological tool is the reading, because we can put it that the reading they can also, or we can use a reading that they can watch, or also or only to listen, that because there's some reading in YouTube, they have some videos that we can use, for example, with kids, that they need to watch more than the bigger ones. For example, the university or the college students, that they are different. And I will work with a student in the age or for 4 to 10, and this is, for me, it's useful to use tools that they can also not only to watch, not only to re-listen, or not only to reading, that they need to be all of them together, that they can get it, the topic of what we are going to make or develop on the class.
Absolutely, agree. Okay, anybody else?
Yes, group number 3.
Very good.
Okay, well, we were talking about first the level of the student. And for example, on high school students, we all know that for the majority of the populace, they like, visual classes. And just for example, when we have like historical events, it is very good to play a video, showing all the events or talking about the event. With this type of information, there's many activities that we can play with the students. For example, in class activity, after watch the video, we can have some amount of questions that they can answer. And out of class activity, it could be like probably group assignment that after they watch the video, they can share their opinions about the event.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Yes, and probably, like sometimes they don't like to, they don't like to talk in public or in a classroom, but they will choose, like, to send a video with all the group members explain their parts, like no more than 3 minutes. Or they can choose, they can have they can choose also to have a written resume. And they will have the same time to be sent, like just for say something, 3 days assignment.
Okay, that works, definitely. Thanks, Osiris, for sharing.
Thank you.
That was group number 3, right?
Yes, number 3.
Okay, don't forget the names of the people in your group. You will be working with them all throughout the seminar. Okay, I think we have time for another group. What about group number 7? We heard group number 7 already. Let's get into group number 6. Maria Isabel, Hilda, and Rafael.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good.
Yeah, you visit us when we were discussing, and I am the only one who had the experience with this type of methodology, blending. And I was mentioned to my partner that right now we are taking class, we are giving some classes at Faculty of Economy. Because of the, summer is very quick, very short period, only 6 weeks. So I try to take advantage. I'm using this platform right now. Before using a Google Classroom, I've been working with Edmodo, but Edmodo, they just closed, they shut down that platform, that website. So right now, I migrate to Google Classroom, and I've been working, and it's been great. Also, you can keep track of all the records, all the grades, and everything else. I try to upload videos. I try to upload and interact with them with some different website like Quizzy, Mentis, Wildword, Quizlet, and all my classes I prepare it in these Google sites and I upload it. So that way they have different places where they can access and try to improve or try to enhance what they need to learn in this subject, basically. Thank you.
Yeah, as I was telling you, Google Sites is a pretty good tool. You can upload audios, videos, and images, and just get the link and share it with your students. That's actually very good. Is there anybody else from the group that wanted to share?
Yes, group number 2.
Okay,
really,
go ahead.
I think that I should not be the one presenting our example, but it was Florencia. She had a conversation class, and you know, imagine conversation class early in the morning, you know, so few students really want to participate. So what she did, she played a video of movie called Crazy, and she to make the long story short, she explained to us that the 2 students escaped from their class and began doing crazy things. And in doing such, they met one guy, and they kind of challenged him to do things that he wasn't supposed to do. But anyhow, at the end, they escaped, run away, and after that, Professor Florencia asked students what did they think. And all of them, even the ones that are very shy to talk in English, started retelling their experiences when they were young. I mean, probably in their 15 or 16 years, what they did, and it was so funny, hilarious, and at the same time, it motivated the students to actively participate in that class.
See, that's a clear proof that you're the ones who know your students the best. She picked just the right movie for your students to get motivated to talk. Very good. Thanks for sharing, Francia. Florencia, do you have anything to add?
No, no. Just to remember, it made me laugh. No, Francia retell it just the way it was.
Okay, very good.
I just want to add that it is an excellent way of, integrating students, but as our other colleagues have said, it is a method that we can use with composition, as Carmen mentioned, methods of investigation, we can also use it there in reading. For example, if we want to talk about who was Martin Luther King, excellent, because there is a lot of sources and information. And the thing is that technology is what students they're very integrated in it, or they are close to it, or this is their beat that we said. This is what they like. And some of them are not so skillful, but the thing is that almost all of them share their knowledge when it comes to technology.
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. Thanks for sharing, Florencia. Do we have anybody from group number 5 or group number? Yeah, we already had group number 4. What about group number 5? Omaris, Osvaldo, Rosalba, do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello. I'm Rosalba Bryan. Well, we were discussing that it's beneficial to use technology to integrate all the linguistic skills. So we were talking about some tools such as flip.com, where you could, for instance, show a video and have your students discuss in oral form in a video, because as one of our professors said, sometimes our students are shy and they don't want to talk in class. But if we allow them to submit a video where they answer questions, and maybe we could have them comment on our class, on their classmates' videos. So they had to watch the videos, listen to what the others say, and comment in written form. So in that way, we are trying to integrate all the linguistic skills.
Okay, very good. See, we're getting even new ideas for our classes just by sharing. Okay, I think that would be it concerning this topic. I appreciate your participation in this presentation. Thanks for giving it the time to reflect on blended learning and consider what you can do with it in your classes. Thanks again. I leave it to you, Joel.
All right, thank you. Virtual applause for you, Professor Corina, for your presentation. I think that all we have learned today we put into practice, and importantly, help others learn and use technology, right? So important announcement, remember to complete the attendance form that we just shared here on the chat box on Zoom. You have to complete with your information related to the attendance. Second announcement, don't forget to join Google Classroom because everything is going to be posted there. So if you have not received the code or the link, Professor Marisol is sharing the link as well here on the chat box on Zoom. And in the third announcement, do not forget to complete your name here, because we see people that they just have like one name or they do not have a real name, right? Here on Zoom. Try to change your name, please, here, because we are taking attendance and we need to put you in groups. And if I do not have a name, we cannot, send you to any group, considering that sometimes we have, this kind of people join Zoom, and we do not want you to be, this kind of hackers. So that's why it's very important to use your name here once you are going to be here, joined the session. Professor Marisol, do you have any announcement or any question?
Well, yes, I would like to congratulate the speakers for the excellent presentations. That was awesome. Thank you very much. And well, to say see you tomorrow to all of the participants. I don't know if you have anything.
Wait.
Professor
Yeah,
Corina.
yeah. Oh, Professor Corina has something to say. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. During the seminar, we're going to have all the other seminars. We're going to have a task to work during the afternoons, right? So we decided to use Google Forms as the main tool for that activity. So you're going to get in the Google Classroom the assignment of a Google form with questions related to our presentation this morning. Okay, so you will just, as you usually do with your students, you just get into the platform, you will find the Google form and you will find the questions, try to answer. You will also find in the platform the PowerPoint presentation in case of Professor Beatriz or Google Slide. In my case, both topics they have already been uploaded in both Google Classrooms. We're working with two Google Classroom for this seminar, right? Okay, those that are taking the diploma one and those that are just in the seminar. Is that right, Marisol?
That's right, yes, exactly.
Okay, so we will be posting just after the seminar, this session ends, we will be posting the Google form for you to answer the questions. Professor Marta Dorati, you're sharing your screen again. Okay, so you will find that Google form there. And if there's any question you don't remember or you need to go back, you can open the presentations and check in order to answer them. Okay, that's concerning the asynchronous task that you're gonna have almost every day. Okay, I hope it's pretty clear. Is there any question concerning that?
Means that we are going to answer the questions and the platform that we have it in classroom. Yes?
Yeah, that's absolutely
Correct. Everything is
Yeah.
on Classroom.
Okay.
everything. You're gonna find everything in Classroom. We have already worked on the final presentation and what you're gonna be expected to do the last day of the seminar. We will be posting that in the platform as well, so you keep track. So the idea of this seminar is that whatever we learn and practice every day, it's going to be work in progress until you get to the complete task that then you will be presenting the last date of this seminar. Professor Beatriz, are you here, I think, right? Do you think we have time to get into the final presentation of Professor Marisol, or will it be enough if we just post it in the platform?
I don't know. Marisol, I don't know.
Go ahead, Beatriz. I mean, we still have some minutes.
We have 3 more minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe it will be a good idea, Professor Corina, to share with them. It's going to be posted anyways, but to share with them what we're expecting from the groups to be presented on the first day of classes. So if you can share screen real quick, because we still have a couple of minutes.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is post it right away in one of the Google Classroom, and then I'm gonna share the screen so you can look at it, okay? So here we are. This is the final presentation. So you will be requested from tomorrow, start creating your Google Classroom and add students. The students will be the rest of the members of the group. You will have to create content material, assignments, and posts. That's going to related to our session tomorrow. And then you will have to assign a speaking activity where your students were, your colleagues, upload a video or an audio recording, assign a writing activity, and these 2 topics will be presented in our session on Wednesday. So we'll start working on that on Wednesday. And then the last 2 ideas that you have to work are set the grading category that will be presented by Professor Beatriz, and creating a Google form that we will be working on the second part of the session on Thursday. Then on Friday, then you will present your Google Classroom with all the with most of the ideas that we try to share that would be useful in a blended class.
I would like to add something, Professor Corina, if you don't
Corina,
mind.
please
go ahead. What Professor Corina is presenting at this moment is a reminder of the elements that the presentation should have on Friday. That's all. We're going to work on these different aspects day by day and presentation by presentation, so do not worry. At this moment, for the ones already know Google Classroom, it might look very easy. Oh, I know how to do that. But for the ones who are learning step by step how to use the Google Classroom in a blended learning model, then we're going to do it step by step. This is just a reminder, like a checklist, let's call it that way, of the things that you should present or your group should present on a Friday. So do not worry, because we haven't discussed many of the topics that appear here, but we're going to do it during the week.
Yeah, day by day. So yeah, right. Don't worry at all. We will be working on that every single day.
Okay, Corina, excuse me a second. The final presentation group work is going to be with the colleagues that we're working. Yes? Yes?
That's correct.
Okay. That's correct. Okay.
It's the same group we are working with in the breakout rooms.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. So tomorrow, we are going to continue with our seminar. Remember to take note of the ones that are participating with you in your groups, because this is a group assignment. So, and also I would like to say that it is very important for you to do your assignments, because remember that this is a 40-hour seminar. So it is, mandatory that you comply with all of your assignments for you to get your certificate of the diploma or of the seminar. With that said, I think, I mean, I don't have anything else to add, Professor Joel. I just have to say,
Well,
God bless you and see you tomorrow.
see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Have a good
Tomorrow.
afternoon,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye. Congratulations.